So let's start with this third chapter, chapter 3. Joe, where are you? Cried Meg at the foot of the garage stairs. Here, answered a husky voice from above. And running up, Meg found her sister eating apples and crying over the hair of Redcliffe, and this is a novel, okay, wrapped up in a comforter on an old three-legged sofa by the sunny window. So the image that you have to have is Jo reading a novel, and she got emotional probably for something that is happening already in the novel that she is reading, close to a also in a sofa close to a window, and they say by the sunny window. Okay, this was Jo's favorite refuge, and here she loved to retire with half a dozen rosettes and a nice book, to enjoy the quiet and the society of a pet rat who lived nearby and didn't mind her a particle. As Meg appeared, Scrabble whisked into his hole. Jo shook the tears off her cheeks and waited to hear the news. And whenever I highlight the word, sometimes I will explain, and others I will probably keep reading because I don't want to make this video very long. But the idea is that you also look up in the dictionary for these expressions and vocabulary, okay? Such fun, only see a regular note of invitation from Mrs. Gardiner for tomorrow night, cried Meg, waving the precious paper and then proceeding to read it with girlish delight. Mr. Gardiner would be happy to see Miss March and Miss Josephine at a little dance on New Year's Eve. Marmee is willing we should go. Now, what shall we wear? What's the use of asking that when you know we shall wear our poplins? And the poplins are the kind of dresses that they already have. They might not be very elegant because they are easily made out of wool or also cotton. And so that's why they say, because we haven't got anything else, answered Jo with her mouth full. Remember, she's eating an apple. If I only had a silk, sighed Meg, and silk obviously is a fabric that is obviously more refined, we could say elegant. Okay, la seda, the silk. Mother says I may when I'm 18, perhaps, but 2 years is an everlasting time to wait. I'm sure our pops look like silk and they are nice enough for us. Yours is as good as new, but I forgot the burn and the tear in mind. The tear is some piece that has been broken, okay? And the burn, remember, is that it got very close to the fireplace, so then she burned the hair skirt or dress. Whatever shall I do? Whatever shall I do? The burn shows badly, so it's really being easy. You can easily see the burn. So the burn shows badly, and I can't take any out. You must sit still all you can and keep your back out of sight. The front is all right. I shall have a new ribbon for my hair, and Marmee will lend me her little pearl pin, and my new slippers are lovely, and my gloves will do, though they aren't as nice as I like. Mine are spoiled with lemonade, and I can't get any new ones, so I shall have to go without, said Jo, who never troubled herself much about dress. You must have gloves, or I won't go, cried Meg decidedly. Gloves are more important than anything else. You can't dance without them, and if you don't, I should be so mortified. Then I'll stay still. I don't care much for company dancing. It's not fun to go sailing round. Sailing means moving and dancing around. I like to fly about and cut capers. And this is an idiom, okay, which means to move freely around the space. You can't ask mother for new ones. They are so expensive, and you are so careless. She said when you spoiled the others that she shouldn't get you anymore with this winter. Can't you make them do? Which means, can you fix them for me? I can hold them. I can hold them crumpled up. So crumpled up is holding. They are talking about the globes, okay? In my hand, so no one will know how stained they are. Stained means manchados, ¿vale? That's all I can do. No, I'll tell you how we can manage. Each wear one good one and carry a bad one. Don't you see? So what they are saying is because they have one that is a stain and the other one is right. So what they are going to do is they're going to wear the right globe, and the one that is stained, they are going to have it in their hand, like this. Your hands are bigger than mine, and you will stretch my glove gratefully, began Meg, whose gloves were a tender point with her. Then I'll go without. I don't care what people say, cried Jo, taking up her book. You may have it, you may. Only don't stain it. Don't stain is the normal manches, no? And do behave nicely. Don't put your hands behind you or stare or say Christopher Columbus, will you? Don't worry about me. I'll be as prim as I can and not get into any scrubbers. So the scrapes or scrapes, I think scrapes is like trouble. Oh, don't get into any trouble, we could say. Scrapes. If I can help it. Now go and answer your note and let me finish this splendid story. So Meg went away to accept with thanks, look over her dress and sing bitterly as she did up her one real lace frill, while Jo finished her story, her 4 apples, and had a game of romps with a Scrabble. On New Year's Eve, the parlor was deserted, for the 2 younger girls played dressing maids and the 2 elder were absorbed in the all-important business of getting ready for the party. Simple as the toilets were, there was a great deal of running up and down, laughing and talking, and at one time a strong smell of burnt hair pervaded the house. Meg wanted a few curls about her face, and Jo undertook to pinch the paper locks with a pair of hot tongs. And so let's comment something here. To pinch the papered locks is to pass the tongs. The tongs are como como la plancha que tenemos ahora, pues son estas tenecillas, I think they are called in Spanish. Anyway, the tongs are these iron gadget to curl your hair, okay? So to pinch, before you place it, you have to use some kind of paper to cover the hair, right? Otherwise you will burn it. And even it has been papered, these locks, this hair, they got burned. You will see now. Ought they to smell like that? Asked Beth from her perch on the bed. It's the dampness drying, replied Jo. And the dampness means that the wet, because if they are wet, she's saying that they are going to get dry because of the heat of the tongues. But so she answered that. What a queer smell! It's like burned feathers, observed Amy, smoothing her own pretty curls with a superior air. There now, I'll take off the papers and you'll see a cloud of little ringlets, said Jo, putting down the tongs. She did take off the papers, but no cloud of ringlets appeared, for the hair came with the papers, and the horrified hairdresser laid a row of little scorched bundles on the bureau before her victim. So the bundles es como un mechón de pelo, ¿vale? Were scorched, o sea, quemados, ¿vale? In front of the victim. Oh, Oh, what have you done? I'm spoiled. I can't go. My hair, oh, my hair, wailed Meg, looking with despair at the uneven frizzle of her forehead. Just my luck. You shouldn't have asked me to do it. I always spoil everything. I'm so sorry, but the tongues were too hot, and so I've made a mess, groaned poor Joe, regarding the little black pancakes with tears of regret. It isn't spoiled, just frizzle it and tie your ribbon so the ends come on your forehead a bit, and it will look like the last fashion. I've seen many girls do it so, said Amy, consolingly. Serves me right for trying to be fine. I wish I'd let my hair alone, cried Meg, petulantly. Es decir, petulante, ¿no? As the word in Spanish. So do I. It's an inversion, okay? Remember this? So do I. Yo igual, ¿no? Yo lo mismo. It was so smooth and pretty, but I will soon grow out again, said. But it will soon grow out again, said Beth, coming to kiss and comfort the shorn sheep. Shorn sheep es como la oveja esquilada, ¿no? Shorn sheep. After various lesser mishaps means problems, a problematic event, we could say. Meg was finished at last, and by the united exertions of the entire family, Joe's hair was got up and her dress on. They looked very well in their simple suits, Meg's in silvery drab with a blue velvet snood, lace frills, snood, lace frills, and the pearls pin. Joe in maroon, with maroon is a kind of color, with a stiff, gentlemanly linen collar, and a white chrysanthemum or two for her only ornament. Each put on the one nice light glove, what we said before, and carried one soiled one. And so they carried one and the other was carried on their hands. And all pronounced the effect quite easy and fine. Meg's high heel slippers were very tight and hurt hair, though she would not own it, and Joe's 19 hairpins all seemed stuck straight into her head, which was not exactly comfortable, but dear me, let us be elegant or die. This is an expression. Let us be elegant or die, dear me. Have a good time, dearest, said Mrs. March, as the sisters went daintily, like graciously or very elegantly, went daintily down the walk. Don't eat much supper and come away to 11 when I send Hannah for you. As the gate clashed behind them, a voice cried from a window, Girls, girls, have you both got nice pocket handkerchiefs? Yes, spandy nice. So like very, very nice. No, spandy nice. And Meg has cologne on hers. Colonia, ¿vale? Cried Joe, adding with a laugh as they went on. I do believe Marmee would ask that if we were all running away from an earthquake. It is one of her aristocratic taste, and quite proper for a real lady, is always known by neat boots, gloves, and handkerchief, replied Meg, who had a good many little aristocratic tastes of her own. Now, don't forget to keep the bad breath out of sight. And the bad breath here is the part of the dress that Joe is wearing on the back of her skirt or dress. Remember that she has a burned part, so that is the breath part. Joe is my shaz, right? And the shaz is something that you are wearing either on the shoulders or on the waist, and it's usually like a fabric, a piece of cloth, similar to, we could say, a shawl, And does my hair look very bad? Said Meg, as she turned from the glass in Mrs. Gardiner's dressing room after a prolonged brink after she was looking at the mirror to herself. So she was looking herself in the mirror in this dressing room of Mrs. Gardiner, the house they have been invited to. I know I shall forget. I know I shall forget. If you see me doing anything wrong, just remind me by a wink, will you? Returned Jo, giving her collar a twitch and her head a hasty brush. Remember, hasty is moving her hand very quickly over her hair and trying to probably brush herself or play something on her hair, and the collar moving it, okay? And Meg replies, no, winking isn't ladylike. I'll lift my eyebrows. I lift my eyebrows if anything is wrong, and nod is doing lift like this, and nod if you are all right. Now hold your shoulders straight and take short steps, and don't shake hands if you are introduced to anyone. It isn't the thing. How do you learn all the proper ways? I never can. Isn't that music? Isn't that music gay? And remember, gay here means joy, joyful, or yes, with jolly, we could say also. Gay means also jolly here. Isn't that music gay? Down they went, feeling a trifle timid, for they seldom went to parties, and informal as this little gathering was, it was an event to them. Mrs. Gardiner, as a stately old lady, greeted them kindly and handed them over to the eldest of her 6 daughters. Meg knew Sally and was at her ease very soon, but Jo, who didn't care much for girls or girlish gossip, stood about with her back carefully against the wall and felt as much out of place as a cold in a flower garden. And remember, it is an expression that it means, for us, we feel like como un elefante en una cacharrería, okay? Or as a cold in a flower garden, literally means como un potrillo en un campo de flores. Half a dozen jovial lads were talking about skates in a note, and by the way, lads means the male, the boys, okay? So usually young men. Half a dozen jovial lads were talking about skates in another part of the room, and she longed to go and join them, for skating was one of the joys of her life. She telegraphed her wish to Meg, but the eyebrows went up so alarmingly that she dare not stare. ¿Vale? So Meg was kind of saying, no, stop doing that, right? No one came to talk to her, and one by one the group dwindled away. Dwindle, diminished. Okay, so dwindle is a nice word. I have also learned it with this reading. Dwindled away till she was left alone. She could not roam. Roam is to move from one place to another, about, and amuse herself for the burned breath. We said before this word, which for the burned breath would show. So she stared at people rather forlornly. Forlornly means like till the dancing began. Forlornly means lonely, being like rather lonely, we could say. Meg was asked at once, and the tight slippers tripped about so briskly that none would have guessed the pain their wearers suffered smilingly. Jo saw a big red-headed John approaching her corner, and fearing he meant to engage her, she slipped into a curtain recess, intending to peep and enjoy herself in peace. Peep is to see without being seen, okay? Unfortunately, another bashful person, bashful means timid or shy, another bashful person had chosen the same refuge. For as the curtain fell behind her, she found herself face to face with the Lawrence boy. Lawrence boy is the name of this chapter, no? Chapter 3, the Lawrence boy. Dear me, I didn't know anyone was here, stammered Joe. So said with clumsy words, we could say, stammered Joe, preparing to back out as speedily as she had bounced in. But the boy laughed and said pleasantly, though he looked a little startled. Startled here means surprise. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Stay if you like. Shan't I disturb you? Shan't is like shall not I disturb you. Okay, this is coming from this modal in a very formal way. She's saying, no te estoy molestando, no? So shan't I disturb you? Not a bit. I only came here because I don't know many people and felt rather strange at first, you know. So did I again, inversion, so did I, lo mismo que yo igual. Don't go away, please, unless you rather, a menos que gustes de irte, no? The boy sat down again and looked at his pumps, and pumps are the sleepers with the soil, which is rubber, is made of rubber, so it's the goma, ¿vale? Because they are wearing the shoes to dance, remember? So the pumps are these shoes that they are wearing to dance properly in these events, in this ballroom event. So that's the meaning of the pumps. Till Joe said, trying to be polite and easy, I think I've had the pleasure of seeing you before. You live near us, don't you? Next door. And he looked up and laughed outright, for Joe's prim manner was rather funny when he remembered how they had chat about cricket when he brought the cat home. That put Joe at her ease, and she laughed too, as she said in her heartiest way, we did have such a good time over your nice Christmas present. And remember the Christmas present, they send their breakfast to the Hamels, and when they came back, the neighbors had already sent them a new breakfast for them, because they saw the nice gesture they had with the Hamels, so they wanted to do something nice to their own neighbors. Grandpa sent it, but you put it into his head, didn't you? Now? How is your cat, Miss March? Asked the boy, trying to look sober while his black eyes shone with fun. Nicely, thank you. Mr. Lawrence, thank you, Mr. Lawrence, but I'm not Miss March. I'm only Joe, returned the young lady. I'm not Mr. Lawrence. I'm only Laurie. Laurie Lawrence, what an odd name. My first name is Theodore, but I don't like it, for the fellows call me Dora. So I made this say Laurie instead. I hate my name too, so sentimental. I wish everyone would say Joe instead of Josephine. How did you make the boys stop calling you Dora? I trust them, and means to treat them like rubbish, or literally, and or to treat them with them, to avoid them, or trying to treat, not really paying them much attention. And so that's why Joe answered here, I can't trust Aunt March, so I suppose I shall have to bear it. Bear it es tolerarlo, soportarlo, ¿vale? Acordaros, to bear it. And Joe resigned herself with a sigh. Don't you like to dance, Miss Joe? asked Laurie, looking as if he thought the name suited her. I like it well enough if there is plenty of room and everyone is lively. In a place like this, I'm sure to upset something, tread on people's toes, or do something dreadful. So I keep out of mischief and let Meg sail about. Don't you dance? Sometimes. You see, I've been abroad a good many years and haven't been into company enough yet to know how you do things here. Abroad, cried Joe. Oh, tell me about it. I love dearly to hear people describe their travels. Laurie didn't seem to know where to begin, but Joe's eager questions soon set him going, and he told her how he had been at school in Vevey, where the boys never wore hats and had a fleet of boats on the lake, and for holiday fun went on walking trips about Switzerland with their teachers. Don't I wish I'd been there, cried Joe. Did you go to Paris? We spent last winter there. Can you talk French? We were not allowed to speak anything else at Vevey. Do say some. I can read, but I can't pronounce. So I don't speak French, but I'm going to try to say something. For example, qu'il no assez jeune moiselle en les pantoufles jolies. I don't know if it's probably it's very wrong, but you know, that's what he is saying. I can read it, but can't pronounce. So how nicely you do it. Let me see. So then she's trying to say, okay, yeah, you did it very well. So she's going to tell him what she has understood. You said, who is the young lady in the pretty slippers, didn't you? Oui, mademoiselle. It's my sister Margaret, and you knew it was. Do you think she's pretty? Yes, she makes me think of the German girls. She looks so fresh and quiet and dances like a lady. Joe quite glowed with pleasure at this boyish praise of her sister and stored it up to repeat to Meg. Both peeped and criticized and chatted till they felt like old acquaintances. Laurie's bashfulness, so being the shyness, we could say, soon wore off, for Joe's gentlemanly demeanor amused and set him at his ease, and Joe was her merry self again, because her dress was forgotten and nobody lifted their eyebrows at her. She liked the Lawrence boy better than ever and took several good looks at him, so that she might describe him to the girls, for they had no brothers, very few male cousins, and boys were almost unknown creatures to them. Curly black hair, brown skin, big black eyes, handsome nose, fine teeth, small hands and feet, taller than I am, very polite for a boy, and altogether jolly. Wonder how old he is. It was on the tip of Joe's tongue to ask, but she checked herself in time and with unusual tact tried to find out in a roundabout way. I suppose you are going to college soon. I see you pegging away at your books. No, I mean studying hard. So it's another way of saying studying hard, not pegging away at. I mean studying hard. And Joe blushed at the dreadful pegging which had escaped her. Laurie smiled, but didn't seem shocked, and answered with a shrug. A shrug is cogiendo de hombros, ¿vale? Shrug. Not for a year or two. I won't go before 17 anyway. Aren't you but 15? Asked Joe, looking at the tall lad, whom she had imagined 17 already. 16 next month. How I wish I was going to college. You don't look as if you liked it. I hate it. Nothing but grinding or skylarking. Remember, grinding is studying and skylarking is doing sports, so doing exercise. And I don't like the way fellows do either in this country. What do you like? To live in Italy and to enjoy myself in my own way. Joe wanted very much to ask what his own way was, but his black brows looked rather threatening as he knitted them. Knit them is when he was moving his eyebrows. So she changed the subject by saying as her foot kept time, "That's a splendid polka. Why don't you go and try it?" "If you would come to," he answered with a gallant little bow. The bow is a gesto, no? I can't, for I told Meg I wouldn't, because there Joe stopped and looked undecided whether to tell or to laugh. Because what? You won't tell? Never. Well, I have a bad trick of standing before the fire, and so I burned my frocks. And I scorched this one and thought it's nicely mended. It shows, and though, sorry, no thought, and though it's nicely mended, so, y aunque se le ha mended es como arreglado, it shows, se muestra, ¿no? Aunque está bien arreglado, pero se ve. It shows, and Meg told me to keep still so no one would see it. You may laugh if you want to. It's funny, I know. But Laurie didn't laugh. He only looked down a minute, and the expression of his face puzzled Joe when he said very gently, Never mind that. I'll tell you how we can manage. There is a long hall out there, and we can dance grandly. Grandly means with all the freely as we want, because there is a lot of space, and no one will see us. Please come. Joe thanked him, and gladly is being glad, it means being happy, okay, as well. So gladly went, so happily went. Wishing she had two neat gloves, when she saw the nice pearl colored ones her partner wore. The hall was empty, and they had a grand polka, for Laurie danced well and taught her the German step, which delighted Joe, being full of swing and spring. When the music stopped, they sat down on the stairs to get their breath, and Laurie was in the midst of an account of a students' festival at Heidelberg when Meg appeared in search of her sister. She becomes like pointed to or made a signal to Joe, and Joe reluctantly followed her into a side room, where she found her on a sofa, holding her foot and looking pale. I've sprained my ankle. That stupid high heel turned and gave me a sad wrench. So sprained, remember, es que se ha hecho un esguince en el tobillo, en el ankle, and wrench es torcedura, ¿vale? It aches, me duele, it aches so I can hardly stand, and I don't know how I'm ever going to get home, she said, rocking to and from in pain. Rocking es este gesto, ¿vale? Rocking to and from in pain. I knew you'd hurt your feet with those silly shoes. I'm sorry, but I don't see what you can do except get a carriage or stay here all night, answered Joe, softly rubbing the poor ankle as she spoke. Rubbing is haciendo esto, ¿no? On the ankle. I can't have a carriage without its costing ever so much. I dare say I can't get one at all, for most people come in their own, and it's a long way to the stable and no one to send. I'll go. No, indeed, it's past 9 and dark as Egypt. It is another expression, and dark as Egypt. I can't stop here, for the house is full. Sally has some girls staying with her. I'll rest till Hannah comes, and then do the best I can. I'll ask Laurie. He will go, said Joe, looking relieved as the idea occurred to her. Mercy, no. Don't ask or tell anyone. Get me my rubbers. Rubbers again are the shoes, and put these slippers. Rubbers are these remember, rubbers are the shoes they are wearing to dance, and the slippers are the other shoes, more elegant. And put these slippers with our things. I can't dance anymore, but as soon as supper is over, watch for Hannah and tell me the minute she comes. They are going out to supper now. I'll stay with you, I'd rather. No, dear, run along and bring me some coffee. I'm so tired, I can't stare. Stare is even to look, okay? So Meg reclined with rubbers well hidden. And yes, because she's wearing now the rubbers and not the slippers that are usually more elegant. So she was hiding these shoes, no? And Joe went blundering away. Blundering is wearing the shoes, these other shoes from very blundering is like being clumsy, okay, moving herself to the dining room, which she found after going into a china closet, and opening the door of a room where old Mr. Gardiner was taking a little private refreshment. Making a dart at the table, she secured the coffee with which she immediately spilled, thereby making the front of her dress as bad as the back. So now when she's pouring this coffee into a cup, she spilled some of it over her front of the dress. Oh dear, what a blunderbuss I am, exclaimed Jo, finishing Meg's glove by scrubbing her gown with it. So now she's not only having coffee all over her dress at the front, but she's also using Meg's glove to clean the stain on her skirt or dress. Can I help you? Said a friendly voice. And there was Laurie, with a full cup in one hand and a plate of ice in the other. I was trying to get something for Meg, who is very tired, and someone shook me. And here I am in a nice state. No, now so showing that she has got also as a new stain, we could say, answered Jo, glancing dismally from the stained skirt to the coffee-colored globe. Now, too bad. I was looking for someone to give this to. May I take it to your sister? Oh, thank you. I'll show you where she is. I don't offer to take it myself, for I should only get into another scrape if I did. Scrape is kind of a problematic situation, I think. Another scrape is that one, another event that is problematic, you could say, to her. Jo led the way, and as if used to waiting on ladies, Laurie drew up a little table, brought a second installment of a coffee and ice for Jo, and was so obliging. Obliging is willing, okay, kind of that. It's a willing, so willing to help, so willing to be, being gentle to them, that even particular Meg pronounced him a nice boy. They had a merry time over the bonbons and motos. Motos are the topics of conversation, and were in the midst of a quiet game of bus. Bus is a kind of game with numbers, with 2 or 3 other young people who had strayed in when Hannah appeared. Hannah, remember, is the person that helps in the house, in the orchard house. Meg forgot her foot and rose so quickly that she was forced to catch hold of Jo with an exclamation of pain. Hush, don't say anything, she whispered, adding aloud, it's nothing. I turned my foot a little, that's all, and limped upstairs to put her things on. Hannah scolded, Meg cried, and Jo was at her wits' end till she decided to take things into her own hands. Slipping out, she ran down and, finding a servant, asked if he could get her a carriage. It happened to be a hired waiter who knew nothing about the neighborhood, and Jo was looking round for help when Laurie, who had heard what she had said, came up and offered his grandfather's carriage, which had just come for him, he said. It's so early. You can't mean to go yet, began Jo, looking relieved but hesitating to accept the offer. I always go early. I do, truly. Please let me take you home. It's all on my way, and it rains, they say. That settled it. And telling him of Meg's mishap remembers again this event that has been a misfortune event, we could say, Jo gratefully accepted and rushed up to bring down the rest of the party. Hannah hated rain as much as a cat does, so she made no trouble, and they rolled away in the luxurious closed carriage, feeling very festive and elegant. Lori went on the box so Meg could keep her foot up, and the girls talked over their party in freedom. And remember, on the box, they are in the carriage, so there is 2 different areas, and probably on the box means that is going on sharing the space with the person that is managing the carriage. I had a capital time. Did you? Asked Joe, rumpling up her hair. Rumpling up is despeinándose, ¿vale? Rumpling up her hair and making herself comfortable. Yes, till I hurt myself. Sally's friend, Annie Moffat, took a fancy to me and asked me to come and spend a week with her when Sally does. She's going in the spring when the opera comes, and it will be perfectly splendid if Mother only lets me go, answered Meg, cheering up at the thought. I saw you dancing with the red-headed man I ran away from. Was he nice? Oh, very. His hair is auburn, not red, and he was very polite. And I had a delicious redowa with him, which is a kind of waltz, we could say. It's a kind of dance they do. And auburn, by the way, it's another kind of red color. And then remember that Joe is ginger hair as well. It's red. She's got also red hair. He looked like a grasshopper in a fit when he did the new step. Laurie and I couldn't help laughing. Did you hear us? No, but it was rude. It was very rude. What were you about all the time? Hidden away there. Jo told her adventures, and by the time she had finished, they were at home. With many thanks, they said good night and crept in, hoping to disturb no one. But the instant their door creaked, 2 little nightcaps bobbed up, and 2 sleepy but eager voices cried out, "Tell about the party, tell about the party," with what Meg called a great want of manners. Jo had saved some bonbons for the little girls, and they soon subsided, means that they got calmer, or they started to be more quiet after hearing the most thrilling events of the evening. I declare it really seems like being a fine young lady to come home from the party in a carriage and sit in my dressing gown with a maid to wait on me, said Meg, as Jo bound up her foot with arnica and brushed her hair. So bound up, remember, it's probably using some kind of wrapping, we could say, with arnica and making it, to help to help Meg with her pain, and also brush her hair. This is something very typical from Little Women and scenario. It's this kind of moments where they are helping each other and doing things to each other and helping them with the hair or whatever they need. And let's continue. I'm finishing this part. I don't believe fine young ladies enjoy themselves a bit more than we do. In spite of our burnt hair, old gowns, 1 glove apiece, and tight slippers that sprain our ankles when we are silly enough to wear them. And I think Jo was quite right. And usually this last part, and I think Jo was quite right, is Louisa May Alcott saying this thing, okay? And that's it. This is the end of the 3rd chapter, chapter 3. I hope you have enjoyed. Probably it's a long video, but I think it's useful. And please comment something below and continue reading with me. For next time will be the chapter 4. I hope that you have enjoyed. See you soon. Bye for now.